3 years ago, I was dragged from my bed in chains. The man I loved, the alpha I would have died for, stood before the entire pack and called me traitor. He said I had tried to poison him. He said I had conspired with enemy wolves to destroy Valdrin from within. He said I was no longer his chosen mate, no longer worthy of breath in his territory. I screamed my innocence until my throat bled. He didn't look at me. Not once. They branded me with the mark of the Exiled, a jagged scar burned into my shoulder that would tell every wolf in every territory that I was packless, honorless, condemned. Then they dragged me to the border, threw me into the frozen wilderness, and left me to die. I should have died. The cold should have taken me. The rogues should have found me. The despair should have swallowed me whole. But something kept me breathing. Something hot and furious that refused to let my heart stop beating. Revenge. I crawled through snow until I found shelter. I starved until I learned to hunt. I bled until my body became a weapon. And when a wandering healer found me half dead in a cave, she didn't just save my life. She showed me what I truly was. Now I've returned to Valdrin. Not as Sable Varen, the disgraced daughter of a dead beta, the accused traitor who begged for mercy and received none. I've returned as someone else entirely. Someone powerful, someone beautiful, someone no one recognizes. My name is Vesper now, and the alpha who destroyed me, he'll fall for me again without ever knowing who I am. He'll trust me. He'll want me. He'll bare his throat to me in surrender. And when he does, when he's on his knees begging for my love, I'll finally show him my face. Then he'll understand what he did, what he lost, and what it will cost him. The great hall of Valdrin blazed with torchlight. Wolves from 7 territories had gathered for the bonding summit, a tradition as old as the packs themselves. Alphas seeking alliances, unmated wolves seeking partners, ambitious families seeking power. The air was thick with competing scents, tension, desire, suspicion, all woven together like smoke. And beneath it all, the metallic undertone of fear. Because somewhere in this hall stood the most powerful alpha in the northern territories, Corvain of Valdrin, the wolf who had united 3 warring packs through blood and brutality, the wolf whose enemies had a habit of disappearing, the wolf who had once held me in his arms and promised me forever. I stood near the entrance, wrapped in a traveling cloak of deep burgundy, my face partially shadowed by the hood. Not hiding, just observing. Learning the layout, the exits, the clusters of power. You're staring, Ren murmured beside me. I'm assessing. You're staring at the dais. At him. She wasn't wrong. Corvain sat in the alpha's chair like he'd been carved for it. Broad shoulders, sharp jaw, dark hair pushed back from a face that was somehow more brutal than I remembered. More beautiful too, damn him. His gray eyes swept the hall with the lazy confidence of a predator who knew nothing here could threaten him. 3 years had changed him. There was a coldness now, a stillness that hadn't been there before. The young alpha who had laughed with me under moonlight, who had traced his fingers along my jaw and whispered that I was his fate. That wolf was gone. This one looked like he'd forgotten how to feel anything at all. Good. That would make this easier. Vesper. Ren's hand touched my elbow. Your scent is shifting. Control it. I exhaled slowly, forcing the rage down, locking it behind walls I'd spent 3 years building. She was right. In a room full of wolves, emotional scent was a vulnerability. Better, Ren said. We moved into the crowd. I kept my pace unhurried, my posture relaxed but regal. Wolves glanced at me as I passed. Some curious, some dismissive, some openly appreciative. I ignored them all. My target was the dais. Halfway across the hall, I felt the exact moment Corvain's attention shifted to me. It was like walking into a wall of winter air. His gaze pressed against my skin, cold and assessing. I kept my eyes forward, pretending not to notice, letting him look his fill. Who is that? The voice came from beside him. A woman's voice, smooth as poisoned honey. I knew that voice. I'd heard it in my nightmares for 3 years. Thessaly. She sat at Corvain's right hand, draped in silver silk, her auburn hair falling in perfect waves. Beautiful. Elegant. The very picture of a future Luna. She was also the woman who had framed me, the woman who had planted the poison, forged the letters, whispered lies into Corvain's ear until he believed every word. She had stolen my life, my love, my future. My fingers tightened around the wine goblet a servant had pressed into my hand. Easy. Breathe. She doesn't recognize you. No one does. I'd made sure of that. The healer who'd saved me, old Marisol, she'd done more than nurse me back to health. She'd taught me to shift my scent, masking the signature that every wolf carried from birth. She'd shown me herbs that changed the undertones of my skin, the shade of my hair, and the brand on my shoulder. She'd covered it with an intricate tattoo that transformed shame into something almost beautiful. I wasn't Sable anymore. Not in any way that mattered. Introduce yourself. The command came from the dais. From him. I looked up slowly, meeting Corvain's gray eyes for the first time in 3 years. There was no recognition in them. No shock. No guilt. Just cold assessment and something else beneath it. Interest. My name is Vesper, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the hall. I come from the Ashwick territory, seeking alliance and trade. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Ashwick was distant, mysterious, known for their reclusive ways. Corvain tilted his head. Ashwick sends no representatives. Ever. Times change, Alpha. He rose from his chair and the hall seemed to shrink around him. I'd forgotten how tall he was, how the air itself seemed to bend toward him. He descended the dais steps slowly, wolves parting around him like water around stone. He stopped directly in front of me. Close. So close I could see the faint scar on his jaw that hadn't been there before. So close I could smell him. Pine and iron and something darker. Vesper, he repeated as if tasting the name. I don't know you. No, I agreed. You don't. After a long moment, his expression flickered with something I couldn't name. Not recognition, something else entirely. You'll stay, he said. As my guest. We'll discuss your alliance proposal tomorrow. From the dais, Thessaly's sharp intake of breath was audible. I smiled. As you wish, Alpha. The chambers they gave me were in the Alpha's wing. I stood in the doorway, taking in the space. Large bed draped in furs. Stone fireplace crackling with warmth. Windows overlooking the eastern forest. This had been my future once. These halls. This luxury. This proximity to power. Now I walked them as a ghost wearing a stranger's face. It's a cage, I said, as Ren checked the room's security. A gilded one. Still a cage. I pulled off my traveling cloak. He wants me close so he can watch me. Figure out why I unsettle him. You think you unsettle him? I saw his face. Something about me puts him on edge. I moved to the window. He doesn't know why. But his instincts are screaming that something isn't right. That's dangerous. That's useful. A knock at the door interrupted us. A young servant stood in the hallway, eyes lowered. The Alpha requests your presence at dinner, my lady. In his private chambers. My pulse quickened, but I kept my expression serene. Private chambers? Not the Great Hall? He wishes to discuss your alliance proposal without distractions. Without Thessaly, she meant. Tell him I'll attend. Corvain's private chambers were exactly as I remembered them. No, not exactly. More weapons mounted on the walls. Fewer books. A coldness to the space that had nothing to do with temperature. He'd stripped away everything soft. The Alpha himself stood by the window, his back to me. He'd changed into something simpler. Dark trousers and a loose white shirt that did nothing to hide the breadth of his shoulders. You came, he said without turning. You commanded. I invited. Is there a difference? With alphas? He turned, and I saw surprise flicker across his features. Most wolves didn't speak to him so directly. Most wolves hadn't spent 3 years learning that submission got you nothing but pain. Sit, he said, gesturing to a table near the fireplace. Please. The please was unexpected. We ate in relative silence at first. Then Corvain spoke. Ashwick, I've heard stories that your people practice old magic, that your healers can cure wounds that should be fatal. Stories are often exaggerated, Alpha. Corvain. I paused. Excuse me? My name. Use it. His gray eyes held mine. You're not my subject. You're my guest. Corvain, then. There's something about you, Vesper. Something I can't quite name. It's been bothering me since you walked into my hall. Should I be flattered or concerned? Both, perhaps. He didn't smile. I've learned to trust my instincts, and right now, they're telling me you're important somehow. That you matter. The words hit harder than they should have. Tell me about yourself, he continued. Not your territory. You. I sipped my wine, buying time. I lost someone, I said finally. Years ago. Someone I trusted completely. They betrayed me, and I nearly didn't survive it. His expression changed. Something raw flickered across his features. How did you survive? I discovered I was stronger than I knew. The silence stretched between us. I understand that, Corvain said quietly. More than you know. The door burst open. Thessaly stood in the entrance, fury barely concealed beneath a pleasant mask. My Alpha. I wasn't aware you had dinner plans this evening. Your chambers, no less. How intimate. Thessaly, I don't recall summoning you. Must I be summoned to see my betrothed? Betrothed. The word sliced through me. We're discussing alliance matters, Corvain said coolly. You're interrupting. Alliance matters. Is that what we're calling it? Thessaly's gaze slid to me. I'm Thessaly, future Luna of Valdrin. I offered a smile as sharp as broken glass. Vesper, representative of Ashwick. Future Luna? My congratulations. You must be very fortunate. Something flickered in Thessaly's expression, a crack in the mask. We should let our guest rest, Corvain interjected, rising. I inclined my head. Until tomorrow, Corvain. Thessaly's sharp intake of breath was audible. The familiarity of using his name clearly bothered her. I left them there, feeling both their gazes on my back. I was almost to my chambers when my hands began to tingle. Not pain. Something else. A warmth spreading through my palms, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. It happened sometimes when my emotions ran high. Marisol had warned me about it, taught me to breathe through it, to suppress whatever wanted to surface. I pressed my palms flat against the cold stone wall, letting the chill leach away the heat. Not now. Not here. Whatever this power was, whatever Marisol had awakened when she'd saved me, I couldn't let it show. Not until I understood it. Not until I could control it. The warmth faded slowly, leaving my hands trembling. Ren was waiting inside my chambers. Well? He's not what I expected, I admitted. Harder in some ways. But also broken. Does that change anything? I thought of how he'd looked at me, the intensity, the way he'd said you matter. No. He still condemned me without hearing my defense. He still believed Thessaly's lies without question. I moved to the window. Somewhere out there were the borders where they'd left me. Somewhere out there was the snowdrift where I'd nearly taken my last breath. Whatever he's feeling now, it doesn't erase what he did. A soft sound drew my attention. Something had been slipped under my door. A white night flower. The kind that only bloomed in moonlight. The kind that Corvain used to leave on my pillow when we were young and in love. What is it? Ren asked. I stared at the flower, ice flooding my veins. Someone knows who I am. I didn't sleep that night. The night flower sat on my bedside table, its petals ghostly white, accusing me with every breath of its fragrance. Someone knew. Someone remembered. The thought made my skin crawl. You need to eat. Ren's voice pulled me from my thoughts as morning light filtered through the windows. I'm not hungry. I don't care. She set a tray beside me. You can't function on rage alone. I reached for the bread more to appease her than from appetite. I need to find out who sent the flower. Obviously, but you also need to keep up appearances. You're supposed to be negotiating an alliance. She was right. I couldn't abandon the plan just because someone had sent a cryptic message. The great hall looked different in daylight. Morning sun streamed through high windows, softening the harsh stone. Wolves moved through the space in clusters, talking, negotiating. The mysterious Ashwick representative. I turned. A young man approached, sandy-haired with an open face. His scent marked him as Omega. I'm Calum, he said, third son of no particular importance, but I know everyone, which makes me useful. Does it? It does if you're trying to navigate Valdrin politics. He fell into step beside me. You've already stepped on 2 landmines, by the way. Have I? Thessaly's telling everyone you're a foreign spy here to seduce the Alpha. And the Alpha himself has been asking questions about Ashwick all morning. Sent scouts to verify your story. My stomach tightened. He's cautious. He hasn't been the same since the incident. 3 years ago. I stopped walking. What incident? Calum lowered his voice. His former mate. The one who tried to kill him. He loved her. Trusted her completely. Every word was a knife. And what happened to her? Exiled. Branded. Left for dead. Calum shrugged. But the Alpha was never the same after. Some say he blames himself for not seeing through her deception. He blames himself. You knew her? I asked carefully. Sable? A little. She was kind. I never believed she was capable of what they accused her of, but the evidence was damning. All fabricated. All planted by Thessaly. You look pale, Calum observed. Just thinking about how easily trust can be destroyed. He sighed. If you need information, find me. I know where all the bodies are buried. He disappeared into the crowd. I was searching for somewhere quiet to think when I saw her. Thessaly stood near one of the windows, speaking with an older wolf. Her expression was pleasant, but something about her posture told me this wasn't a casual conversation. I drifted closer, pretending to examine a tapestry. Their voices reached me in fragments. Can't be sure. Looks nothing like her, but the way she moves. Being paranoid, Thessaly. The girl is dead. Sable was harder to kill than anyone expected. If there's even a chance, then we handle it the same way we handled it before. A chill slithered down my spine. We. They'd said we. Thessaly hadn't acted alone. The older wolf looked up suddenly. Our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he smiled, slow and cold and knowing. We have an eavesdropper, he said. Thessaly spun. Vesper, how lovely. Were you looking for someone? Just admiring the tapestry. This is Aldrich, our pack's high elder. He oversees all matters of justice. The man who'd probably signed my exile order. An honor, I said. The honor is mine. Aldrich's eyes were probing. Tell me, Vesper. What exactly brings you to Valdrin? Alliance and trade. Yes, but what do you really want? Perhaps I just want to learn how the great Valdrin pack operates. Perhaps. He didn't believe me. Or perhaps you have older motivations. Enough. Corvain's voice cut through the tension. He appeared at my side, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. These accusations are tiresome, he said. Vesper has been my guest under my protection. Any challenge to her is a challenge to my judgment. Of course, Alpha, Aldrich said smoothly. I meant no offense. Vesper. Walk with me. It wasn't a request. We walked through a side corridor in silence. I recognized this passage. It led to the eastern gardens where I used to walk with Corvain on summer evenings. You shouldn't engage with Aldrich alone, he said finally. He's dangerous. I noticed. He's been with the pack longer than I've been alive. He knows everyone's secrets. Even yours? Corvain's jaw tightened. He tries. Why did you intervene? Because you looked like you were about to do something inadvisable. I was handling it. You were about to challenge a high elder in front of the entire pack. He stopped, facing me. Aldrich is patient. He waits for people to make mistakes, then destroys them. Including with your former mate? The question escaped before I could think better of it. Corvain went rigid. Who told you about that? Everyone seems to know. They say a lot of things, he said quietly. Do you believe them? I believe the evidence. His eyes dropped from mine. Letters in her handwriting, poison in her chambers. What else could I believe? What else could you believe? You could have believed me. And if the evidence was wrong? I asked quietly. If someone had fabricated it? His head snapped up. His gray eyes searched my face. Why would you ask that? Because I've learned that evidence can be manufactured, that the people we trust most can be the ones who betray us. Who are you? He whispered. Really? I opened my mouth to answer. There you are. Thessaly's voice shattered the moment. The council meeting starts in 10 minutes. She inserted herself between us. I'm sure our guest can find her own way back. Corvain hesitated, his eyes still fixed on me. Until later, Vesper. I walked away without looking back. But I heard Thessaly's voice, low and venomous. You remind me of someone. Someone who should be dead. That night, the summit held its first formal ceremony. The Moonfire Rite. A tradition where potential mates presented themselves before the Alpha and received his blessing to pursue their bonds. The ceremonial hall had been transformed into something otherworldly. Thousands of candles floating in shallow pools of water, their flames reflected endlessly until the room seemed made of light itself. Wolves lined the walls in their finest clothing, faces solemn with anticipation. The air hummed with the energy of ancient ritual, a magic older than memory. Corvain stood on a raised platform draped in silver, a circlet of twisted iron resting on his brow. A cloak of wolf fur hung from his shoulders. He looked like something out of legend, a king from the old stories, beautiful and terrible. Thessaly stood beside him in white and silver, every inch the future Luna. I wanted to tear her throat out. Breathe, Wren murmured. Your scent. I forced the rage down. The ceremony began with prayers to the moon goddess, ancient words in a language few still understood. Then, one by one, unmated wolves approached the platform to receive Corvain's blessing. I watched each one kneel before him, watched him place his hand on their heads and speak the ritual words. His face remained expressionless throughout, a mask as impenetrable as my own. Until his eyes found me across the room. The contact was brief, barely a heartbeat. But I felt it like a brand searing through all my carefully constructed walls. He sees me, I thought. Not Vesper. Me. The Ashwick representative, the herald announced. You are unmated. Will you participate in the rite? Every eye in the room burned into me. Thessaly's smile had turned venomous. Aldrich watched from the shadows with that cold, calculating gaze. And Corvain leaned forward on his throne, something kindling in those gray depths that I couldn't name. I will, I heard myself say. The walk to the platform felt endless. My pulse thundered with each step, drowning out the whispers that followed in my wake. What was I doing? This wasn't part of the plan. This was reckless, stupid, and dangerous. But I couldn't stop. I climbed the steps and knelt before the Alpha of Valdrin. Before the man who had destroyed me. Before the man I had once loved more than my own life. His shadow fell over me. Look at me, he said quietly. I raised my eyes to his. The world narrowed to just the two of us. The candles, the crowd, even Thessaly, all faded to nothing. There was only Corvain's face, so close I could count his eyelashes. Only his scent. Only his eyes, searching mine with an intensity that stole my breath. His hand rose slowly, Instead of touching my head like the others, his fingers brushed my cheek. The contact sent shockwaves through me. "Who are you?" he breathed. "Vesper," I whispered. "Just Vesper." "No." His thumb traced along my cheekbone. "You're something else. Something I should know." His hand moved higher toward my hairline. "The blessing, Alpha." Aldrich's voice shattered the moment. Corvain withdrew his touch. "I bless this wolf in her search for a worthy mate." I rose on shaking legs and fled the hall. I didn't stop until I reached my chambers. He almost knew. One more second, and he would have felt where the herbs stopped, would have seen the lighter roots beneath. I was playing with fire. Another night flower had been slipped under my door. This time, with a note. "I know who you are, Sable. Meet me in the Eastern Garden at midnight. Come alone, or I'll tell everyone." The Eastern Garden was silver and shadow. Moonlight painted intricate patterns on the stone paths. Night flowers glowed with supernatural luminescence. I stood in the darkness with a blade hidden in my sleeve, waiting. The clock tower struck midnight. Footsteps approached. "Calum?" The young Omega stepped into the moonlight. "You actually came. You're the one leaving flowers." "I am." He studied me. "You hide it well, Sable. But I remembered one thing no herbs could change." "What?" "The way you walk. 3 steps, pause. 3 steps, pause. You did it at the ceremony tonight. Just like when you were the Alpha's promised mate. A childhood habit. Something so small. What do you want?" "I want to help you." "Why?" "Because I know you didn't try to kill the Alpha." His expression hardened. "I was there that night. I saw Thessaly coming from your rooms an hour before the guards arrived. She looked triumphant." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Thessaly has Aldrich in her pocket. If I'd spoken up, I'd have been branded too." He met my eyes. "My sister Marin was one of the witnesses who testified against you. They threatened her. She killed herself 6 months after your exile. The guilt destroyed her." The ground shifted beneath me. I didn't know. Thessaly made it look like an accident. His eyes were bright with tears. "This isn't just about you, Sable. It's about everyone they've hurt. Can you prove what Thessaly did?" "Aldrich keeps records. Everything. Every order. Every secret. He's paranoid, so he documents everything as insurance." "Where?" "His private study. Locked and warded. But the Alpha can override them." "You want me to ask Corvain to help me break into his High Elder's study? He's obsessed with you. Use it." Calum pressed a folded paper into my hand. "Guard rotations, ward schedules, everything I know. Aldrich leaves for the northern outposts tomorrow. You'll have 5 days." Footsteps made me spin around. Corvain stood at the garden entrance. "I saw you leave the ceremony," he said. "I followed you." How much had he heard? "It's a beautiful garden," I managed. "I wanted air." "You're lying." He stepped closer. "You've been lying since you arrived." "I don't know what you—" "Stop." The word was absolute. "I don't want more lies. I want truth." He was close now. Close enough to touch. "Ask me something true," he said, "and I'll answer honestly. Then you do the same. Why did you choose me for the private dinner?" "Because you look at me like you see something no one else does, something broken." His voice dropped. "Your turn. Have we met before?" I should have lied. "Yes," I whispered. His breath caught. "When?" "That's 2 questions. I don't care." His cold hands cupped my face. "Who are you?" I feel like I'm losing my mind. Every time I look at you, something in my chest aches. Something that's been dead for 3 years. Tears burned behind my eyes. "If I told you," I said, "you'd hate me." "I could never hate you." "You did once." His hand stilled. "What?" The clock chimed the half hour. I stepped back. "I should go." "Vesper." "Good night, Corvain." I fled. For 3 days I avoided him. I kept to my chambers, claiming illness. Ren gathered information while I studied Calum's notes. Every strategy led back to Corvain. He was the key to everything. "You can't hide forever," Ren said on the third morning. Thessaly's spreading rumors you've fled, and the Alphas threatened to come himself if you don't appear at tonight's feast. What feast? Alliance presentations. If you don't attend, questions get asked. Fine, help me dress. The feast hall blazed with light. Long tables stretched the length of the room. At the head table sat Corvain, Thessaly beside him, Aldrich lurking in shadows. The moment I entered, Corvain's head turned. Something electric passed between us. You've been missed. Calum appeared at my elbow, expression carefully neutral. Aldrich leaves tomorrow morning, he murmured. 5 days. If you're going to search his study, that's your window. Before I could respond, a hush fell over the hall. Corvain had risen. Alliance presentations will now begin. Ashwick presents last. The first 3 presentations passed in a blur. Then Thessaly rose. Before Ashwick presents, I have information the council should hear. She turned to face the crowd. Our scouts report Ashwick has no official delegation here. In fact, Ashwick denies sending anyone at all. The blood drained from my face. Furthermore, Thessaly continued, the woman calling herself Vesper matches no description in any territory's records. She has no lineage, no history, no verifiable identity. The hall erupted. This woman is an imposter, Thessaly declared. I move that she be detained until her true identity is established. I had seconds to act. I rose and the movement silenced the room. An imposter? That's a serious accusation. One requiring serious proof. I have all the proof I need. You have rumors. I moved forward. Which makes me wonder, why are you so desperate to discredit me? I'm protecting my pack. Are you? Or protecting yourself? Enough. Corvain descended from the dais. These accusations are baseless. Vesper has been my guest under my protection. Corvain, please, Thessaly began. I said enough. His gaze was cold as winter frost. You've overstepped, Thessaly. She swept from the hall. Aldrich followed, his gaze lingering on me with undisguised malice. Corvain moved closer, his voice dropping to a murmur. Meet me in my chambers tonight, after the feast. Why? Because I saved you from Thessaly's trap. Now you're going to tell me the truth. All of it. The hours until midnight crawled past. When the clock struck 12, I made my way to Corvain's chambers. The door opened before I could knock. Come in, he said. The door closed behind me. Thank you for defending me, I said. I didn't do it for you. I did it because Thessaly was lying. I could smell it. And yet, you're betrothed to her. A political arrangement I never chose. He laughed bitterly. Nothing in my life is simple anymore. I found myself moving closer. What happened to you? I asked softly. The wolves whisper you've been different for 3 years. Cold. Closed off. They talk too much. They say it was a woman, your former mate. She didn't betray me. The admission came out raw and sudden. Corvain turned, something shattered in his expression. What? I've known for years. The evidence was too perfect. Someone set her up, and I was too blind to see it. Then why didn't you find her? Because she's dead. His voice cracked. They left her in the winter forest with nothing. I killed her. Not with my own hands, but I killed her. Tears streamed down my cheeks. What if she wasn't dead? I heard myself say. What if she survived? What if she spent 3 years becoming someone else? Someone who could come back and face the people who destroyed her. He was staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. Vesper. That's not my name. I touched the edge of my hairline. It was never my name. Don't. His hands caught mine. Don't do this if you don't mean it. It's not a trick. I was crying openly now. It's me. It's always been me. Say it. Say your name. Sable. The word tore out of me. My name is Sable. For a breathless moment he just stared. Then he crushed me against his chest. You're alive. He was shaking. You're alive. You're alive. I clung to him sobbing. I'm sorry, he said, broken and desperate. I should have known. I should have protected you. You threw me away. I pulled back. You watched them drag me to the border and did nothing. I know. They branded me. They left me to die. I know. I tried so hard to hate you. And now? I looked at him. This man who had been my everything and then my destruction. Now I don't know what I feel. Then let me show you how I feel. He kissed me. Not gentle. He kissed me like he was drowning and I was air. I kissed him back with all the fury and longing I'd been suppressing since I walked back into Valdren. When we broke apart, his forehead pressed against mine. Stay, he whispered. Tonight, please. Yes, I breathed. Tomorrow the fight would continue. Tonight, I just wanted to feel alive. I woke to cold arms wrapped around me. Corvain's chest rose and fell against my back, his breath warm against my neck. His skin was impossibly cold, that strange winter chill that lived in his bones. You're awake, he murmured. How did you know? Your heartbeat changed. I've been listening all night, making sure you were real. I turned in his arms. We need to talk about what happens now. I know. He brushed hair from my face. But can we have 5 more minutes where nothing exists except you and me? 5 minutes. He pulled me closer. I dreamed about you every night for 3 years. You standing on that platform, looking at me with such betrayal. I'd wake up reaching for you, and you'd be gone. I tried to find you, he continued. After the first year, when I started questioning the evidence, I sent scouts, offered rewards, but there was nothing. Marisol hid me well. Do you still want to destroy me? He asked finally. No, I want to destroy the people who did this to us, together. Something fierce kindled in his gray eyes. Then we do it together. Aldrich keeps records of everything, I said as we dressed. If we can access his study while he's gone, you'll have proof. Corvain nodded. I can override his wards. You'd betray your own High Elder? He betrayed me first. Whatever loyalty I owed him died the moment I learned the truth. A knock at the door interrupted us. Alpha. Lady Thessaly requests an urgent audience. She says it concerns the pack's safety. Corvain's jaw tightened. Tell her I'll receive her in 1 hour. She's already in the council chamber, with Elder Aldrich. They say it cannot wait. Dread pooled in my stomach. Aldrich was supposed to leave this morning. They know, I breathed. Stay here. No, whatever they're planning, I face it with you. Together then. The council chamber was packed. Every elder, every advisor had gathered. At the center stood Thessaly and Aldrich, expressions triumphant. Alpha, thank you for joining us. Aldrich's oily smile was firmly in place. We have a grave matter to discuss. 2 guards entered. Between them, bound and bloodied, was Calum. We found this Omega sneaking around the East Tower, Thessaly announced. He revealed quite an interesting story about a woman named Sable Varen, who survived her exile and returned under a false identity. That's a lie, I said. Is it? Thessaly smiled. Guards, remove her scent masking. Let us see what she's been hiding. Hands seized me from behind. Let her go, Corvain commanded. Now. I'm afraid I can't. Aldrich stepped between us. You've been compromised, seduced by an enemy wearing a pretty face. You dare? I dare do what's necessary. The guards forced my head back, producing a vial that would strip away Marisol's herbs. Wait. Everyone turned. Ren stood at the doorway, flanked by a dozen unfamiliar wolves. Witnesses, she said, from the night Sable Varen was framed, from every dirty secret Aldrich has buried. She threw a leather satchel at Aldrich's feet. Your records, including how you and Thessaly manufactured evidence against an innocent woman. Aldrich's face went white. These documents are forged. Thessaly sputtered. They're not. A weathered voice came from the back. Marisol walked forward, leaning on a gnarled staff. I've kept copies of everything, she said calmly. I knew this day would come. Corvain. Thessaly's voice turned desperate. You can't believe these lies. You've used me. Corvain's voice was ice. You murdered the woman I loved, then wormed your way into her place. Guards. Arrest Lady Thessaly and Elder Aldrich for conspiracy, murder, and treason. Chaos erupted. Through it all, Corvain crossed the chamber to me. Are you all right? I will be. He pressed his forehead to mine. I'm never letting you go again. From across the chamber, Thessaly shrieked. This isn't over. You don't know what Aldrich discovered. Silence her, Corvain ordered. But I'd seen the look that passed between them, something that looked almost like satisfaction beneath their fear. They knew something we didn't. The trial began at sunset. The entire pack gathered in the great hall. Thessaly and Aldrich stood in chains before the Alpha's dais. Thessaly of House Morvain, Corvain announced, you stand accused of conspiracy, manufacturing false evidence, and attempted murder. How do you plead? Guilty, Thessaly said. A ripple of shock passed through the crowd. Guilty of removing a threat to Valdran. Guilty of protecting my Alpha from a woman who would have destroyed him. Protecting me? You framed an innocent woman. Because you were too weak to see the real danger. Thessaly stepped forward. Ask Aldrich. He's the one who discovered why Sable Varen needed to be eliminated. Every eye turned to the High Elder. Do you know why your mate is so cold, Alpha? Aldrich asked. Why winter lives in your bones? Corvain went rigid. It's a curse, placed on your bloodline centuries ago by a powerful witch. Every Alpha of Valdran carries it. Aldrich's eyes gleamed. And the woman you love? She's a witch. A fire witch. Her very existence threatens everything Valdran has built. The hall erupted in whispers. That's a lie, I said. Then explain the fire that burned through a rogue camp 3 years ago. That killed 17 wolves. That saved your life. He tilted his head. Marisol didn't just heal you. She awakened something in your blood. The words died in my throat. Because he was right. The night the rogues found me, something had happened. A burst of heat from my palms. Flames that erupted from nowhere. You're a witch, Sable Varen. Fire and ice are opposing forces. If your bloodlines merge, the curse could break. Or consume you both. So you had her removed, Corvain said slowly. I was protecting Valdran. Silence fell over the hall. Corvain turned to me. Is it true? The fire? Yes. But I didn't understand what it meant. I was afraid. You could have told me? When? Before or after I revealed I was the woman you thought you'd murdered? His expression softened with understanding. The curse has been destroying my family for generations, he said quietly. I've felt myself losing the capacity to feel, to love. He reached for my hand. Then you came back. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt warm. Tears pricked my eyes. I'm not afraid of dangerous. I'm afraid of losing you again. He turned to face the crowd. Sable Varen is not a threat to Valdran. She is its salvation. Aldrich of House Thane, for your crimes, I sentence you to death. They dragged him away screaming. Thessaly watched him go. And me? You never loved me. You loved power. Perhaps not. She laughed bitterly. But I knew how dangerous she was. When everything burns. Remember I warned you. I stepped forward. Heat bloomed in my palm. Flames flickered to life. I could burn you where you stand, I said quietly. For what you did to me. Thessaly shrank back. But I won't. You'll stand trial. And you'll spend the rest of your life knowing the woman you tried to eliminate is standing exactly where you wanted to be. I turned to Corvain. Luna of Valdran. If you'll still have me? His smile broke through like light through storm clouds. Always. The bonding ceremony took place under the full moon. The same garden where Corvain had once courted me. Do you, Sable Varen, take this Alpha as your mate? I do. And do you, Corvain of Valdran, take this woman as your Luna? I do. I did 3 years ago. I never stopped. You may claim your mate. This might hurt, he murmured, fire meeting ice. Whatever happens, we face it together. He kissed me. I felt it the moment our lips met. A surge of power. Heat rushed through my veins, meeting his cold. For one terrifying instant, I thought we might destroy each other. Then the sensations merged. Fire and ice, finding balance. I felt the curse in his blood, and I felt it shatter. Corvain gasped. It's gone, he whispered. The cold, the curse. I can feel everything again. I pressed my hand against his chest. His skin was warm, actually warm. Your heart. It's yours. It's always been yours. Around us, the night flowers began to glow gold. 1 year later, the nursery overlooked the eastern gardens. I stood at the window, watching night flowers sway. Behind me, in a cradle of mountain oak, our daughter slept peacefully. Vera, for victory. She has your eyes. Corvain stood in the doorway, still wearing his formal attire from the council meeting. She has your stubbornness. Definitely yours. He crossed the room, sliding his arms around me. The Northern Pact signed the alliance treaty. Wonderful. Calum handled most of the negotiations. Quite the diplomat. I smiled. The youngest High Elder in Valdrin's history. And Thessaly? Still in exile. No one's interested in supporting her. Good. I saw Marisol today. The academy you funded is exceeding expectations. She deserves the credit. You built it. He turned me to face him. You've done more for this pack in 1 year than Aldrich did in 40. Vera made a soft sound. We both watched her tiny fist curl and uncurl. Do you think she'll have the fire? Maybe. Does it matter? No, I said. I suppose it doesn't. We stood in the fading light, watching our daughter dream. I used to dream about this, I admitted. Before everything. Standing with you, watching our children sleep, feeling safe. And now? Now I know dreams can survive even when we think they're dead. He kissed my forehead. I came back for revenge, I said softly. I found something better. What's that? I looked at him. This man who had been my greatest love and my greatest pain and my greatest love again. Home. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it and would like to support the channel, you can join me by hitting the subscribe button. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I always read them, and they mean more than you know.